Welcome back, guys.
Welcome back to
Baby Got
Baby Got
Stacks.
Stacks podcast.
Yes.
This week, we have I'll Be Gone in the Dark,
Mhm.
One Woman's Obsessive Search for the Golden State Killer by Michelle McNamara, with an introduction by Gillian Flynn and an afterword by Patton Oswalt, which is her husband. Gillian Flynn is the one who wrote Gone Girl, Sharp Objects, and this probably won't be terribly long. It will probably go over not the case itself, but like the book portion, I figured first. So this book is a 6 or 7 episode HBO Max series documentary, which I had watched a couple of times. I think I've actually watched it.
Yeah,
it's
and
really
I haven't
good.
watched any of it. I wanted to, but I didn't.
Let's see what else I got.
Well, we also should note as well that Michelle passed in 2016, and she did not finish this book before she passed.
Yeah, she was a screenwriter and a journalist. This was her first book. She had finished parts of it, and then her husband, after she passed, had requested...
Okay.
Her husband had requested
We're sorry. We don't know.
I don't even know what that was.
We don't know what that was. Maybe it was the neighbor?
Is it my phone?
No, it sounded like someone was drilling something in the hole. Or
drilling something in a hole.
Sounded like someone was drilling something into a wall. Okay, well, we don't know what that was, and if it happens again, just ignore it.
Her husband requested her assistance to finish writing it through all her drafts and notes and stuff. So the book itself can feel a little disjointed because of that, because it's not her actual, what she would want her finished copy to actually be.
There are, when you start those chapters, there's editor notes saying that, like, this chapter was made through her notes put together.
Yeah, it's noted which parts she didn't write herself.
I don't know what that is.
Hold on.
It's drilling.
It's drilling. Yeah. Must be the neighbors drilling something.
That's so strange. Okay, well.
Alright.
You're just gifted with that noise throughout this episode. That's so weird.
Boop, boop.
And this is a house, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't like an apartment.
Against my wall.
No.
We have separate walls.
That's very strange. Okay,
well. Yeah. Bear with us.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to mention about her. She was the founder of the blog called True Crime Diary, and it was just the way she researched was very intense, and she's very detailed, and she looked at the evidence and clues, and then also described the methodologies of why they were even looking into them. Yeah. And the story is half about the Golden State Killer and like half about her journey to finding him.
To figuring out who he was. Yeah.
She passed before the killer was arrested. Yeah,
so like we said, she passed in 2016. This book came out in 2018, and then the Golden State Killer was found in 2020 through Ancestry. DNA. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
But we'll get into that. I have notes of after they found him and all that stuff.
So I rated this a 5. When I initially read it, I watched a documentary first, and then when I read it, I was also listening to the audio as I was flipping through the book.
Oh, okay.
Which I think helps with how much information and description there is.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
I rated it a 3. I personally did not like the writing of this book. And I felt so bad because I was like, this is her only book.
I figured it'd be lower because I know it took you longer than a book usually takes you.
It took me so long to get to the point where I was like, I just have to get through this book. Yeah, I liked some parts of it, but I felt there were some, like, there was one chapter that was just a monologue of her and one of the detectives, just them talking.
Back and forth,
I skipped that whole entire chapter. I was like, it's not needed for the book. I didn't...
It's definitely written like a journalist would write it.
Yeah.
Not like a writer.
And there was, like, I kind of understood where they were coming at, but there was parts where they thought that these victims were, like, part of the Golden State Killer, but they really weren't.
Yeah.
And I'm like, then like, why put it in the book? I don't know. I didn't like it.
It's fair because it's not even because it's about like her process of discovering everything.
There was just a lot of people to keep track of.
Yeah.
And it was very hard for me
to
keep track of detectives and police.
And there's a lot of name drops, yeah.
There's a lot.
That's why I think listening to it made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because,
it's
not all about the case, per se.
I knew that you would rate it a 5. I just, I'm not going to read this book again.
Yeah.
It took me way too long. I appreciate it in the middle, kind of like Anne Rule does, where they'll put, like, pictures.
The photos,
the photos. I liked that. That kind of gave it more of, I don't know, personal feel.
Yeah, you get to put a face to the victims.
Yeah. So I liked that.
And the maps and the sketch drawing.
It just...
him. Yeah.
I didn't like how it was written. I'm sorry, Michelle. I felt really bad. I was like, oh my gosh, like, this person deceased, and, like, I'm rating this a 3. Oh, God. Yeah, it was bad. But
I would have made you watch the docu-series with me. Each episode's like an hour long,
I think I probably would have liked that better.
Yeah. But I don't have HBO Max anymore on my Hulu. I totally forgot.
It got to the point where I was like, is there any way I can watch a documentary? Like, because I don't want to finish this.
So I guess now we'll get into the actual case. The Golden State Killer was a serial rapist starting, I guess, in 1976 in the Sacramento suburbs. He started off breaking into homes. Was where he started off doing.
Yes, so
What is going on? I'm leaving this all in so you guys can, like, be as perplexed as we are.
You can hear the, like, how angry Mel is getting the longer that he's drilling.
I'm just yelling by the end. I'm banging on the wall back.
You hear the banging on the wall.
I like that.
Mel gets
too
her
much
drill out. She's like, bring it on.
It's one of the ways I can summon Taylor. If I just bring out the electric drill, and just go, pss, pss, and he's like, what are you doing?
Yes, he panics. He's like, she should not have be anywhere near that. Well, so the Golden State Killer was originally known as EAR, which is East Area Rapist.
Yeah. Well, these were, because all these crimes happened in different areas, and at first they couldn't make it, they couldn't tell it was all the same guy. Until afterwards with DNA.
Back in the 70s and 80s, they didn't have DNA, and even when they did have DNA, not every police department had the same type of DNA. So... one area could have some sort of DNA that they were working on, and then another area wouldn't have that technology yet. Yeah,
so they eventually linked all of these to be the same person.
Yes.
But yeah, he was known as the East Area Rapist, EAR, and then also as the original Night Stalker, ONS. So they kind of linked it so the EAR ONS.
Yeah, exactly. And
Michelle herself is the one who deemed him as the Golden State Killer.
As the Golden State Killer, yes. And so he started in 76, and after learning who he was, like his identity, then they traced him back to a couple of murders before they knew he was killing people.
Because he started off as just breaking and entering.
Yes.
Yeah. And then he eventually progressed.
Yeah, so he also liked to take personal things from people that didn't really have monetary value. Yeah. But then he'd also, they don't know if he'd accidentally leave, because he'd grab like certain things from one house and then leave it at another house. So they didn't know if he was doing that on accident and it was just falling out of his pockets, or if he was doing that on purpose and trying to like throw off the police. They also couldn't figure out what he did for a living, and a long time they thought he was in construction work, because a lot of times they would find cars parked near construction sites. Because you're not going to think anything of it when people are coming and going. Yeah. Later, they did find out that he was a police officer.
Yep.
And he was a police officer in 73 to 76.
Yeah.
So, the first killing that they had pinned him to before finding out his identity was Brian and Katie Majory, is how I'm going to pronounce that. I'm probably going to butcher a lot of these names, but so be it. That's me. They were walking their dog. He had shot Brian first. Katie tried to get away, and then he ran her down and shot her. That was in Sacramento. Then, December 30th, 1979, there was Deborah Manning and Robert Offerman.
Mm-hmm.
March 1980, there was Lyman and Charlene Smith. They were murdered in their home in Ventura. August 1980, Keith and Patrice Harrington. They were also killed in their home in Southern California. I will pull up, I have it on my phone because there's a website that has all of them. February 5th, 1981, 28-year-old Manuela Whitham is how I'm going to pronounce that. She was bound, raped, and bludgeoned to death in Irvine, California. And in 1981, Sherry Domingo and Gregory Sanchez were killed. They were also beaten, and I believe Domingo was raped as well. There were a couple of people that he had killed that he had put the sheets over them, and people thought that maybe the killer knew them.
That's usually a
Yeah.
I don't know how
it's
to say that.
kind of to like distance yourself personally.
Yeah.
But in reality, he had done that because the first time he had killed someone, it got too messy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is rough.
Yeah.
There were no crimes from 1981 or July 1981 until May 1986. In May 1986, 18-year-old Janelle Cruz was killed. She was bound, raped, and bludgeoned to death. And that was his last known crime. And then the case went cold from 86 until 2018, which is when, let me pull up his full name, Joseph DeAngelo.
How old was he when they found him?
So in 2018, he was 74.
God. Ugh. The fucking mugshot they put of him.
I don't have that in my book.
Oh, well, there he is. Get a good look.
No, They have his photo, like, on this website.
Oh, okay. It's so bad. It's
but
just
they
this
didn't have that.
disgusting old man.
They didn't have that
Joseph
in my book.
James DeAngelo. Yeah. Arrested April 25th in Citrus Heights, where he'd been living there for 3 decades.
Yeah, so then we find out that he was a police officer in California from 73 to 76. And on September 11th, 1975, while as a police officer, he shot and killed a professor, Claude Snelling, in front of his daughter in California. And then he kicked the daughter 3 times in the face. He's also done weird like one time he went to rape a person and he, I'm pretty sure, punched one of their dogs in the face.
Yeah.
Like, it's just very random things.
He started off with, like, breaking and entering and then moved to, like, beating and rape. And then he started attacking couples because at that time men were like, oh, well, I'll take care of my wife. Like, he won't get to rape her. So he started attacking couples.
But he would
tie up the husband.
And put
like plates on
their
him
back.
so he can hear if he was trying to get up. And then he would rape the wife.
Yes.
God, it's so awful.
So he was fired from being a police officer.
Shocking.
For allegedly stealing a hammer and a can of dog repellent. That's it.
That was it.
Yeah.
It's always the stupidest thing that they're finally, well, I mean, he wasn't caught, but, like, at least he was fired from the department.
Yeah, so the reason that he became known as the Golden State Killer, ultimately found, was through genealogy, DNA.
Oh, yeah. Which Michelle had predicted. She's like, eventually it's going to come up. A distant cousin is going to, put in their DNA in one of those websites and it's going to pop up. And it did.
Yeah, so they identified him by tracing a family tree through his family members who voluntarily submitted their DNA to public genealogy databases, and they narrowed the family tree search based on age, location, and other characteristics. And then they they watched him closely and then collected his DNA from a tissue left in the trash.
Yeah.
And he was arrested in April 2018. And then after he was taken into custody, he said to himself in an interview room, I did all those things. I destroyed all those lives. And since his arrest, over 150 suspects have been identified through genetic genealogy to this day.
Yeah.
To this day. Isn't that wild?
It's so crazy.
So then on June 29th, 2020, he pleaded guilty to 13...
Pleaded?
Yep, pleaded.
Pleaded guilty.
He pleaded guilty. I'm still so full for my churros.
We had
Guys,
so much Mexican food.
Yeah, I'm hurting. Also, I took my churros home.
She at first was like, no, I can't take them. And she said goodbye and I'm sorry to them. And then when offered a box, she was like, no, yeah, give me the box.
And then I whispered to them, I'm taking you home. Yeah. So I'm still full.
so full.
He was guilty to 13 counts of first-degree murder, and it required him to admit to multiple uncharged acts, which included rape. And because of that, the death penalty was taken off the table because he
probably had
did a plea deal. Yeah. So he's serving life without parole.
Which he's already an old man, so he's definitely gonna die in prison.
Yeah.
Soonish.
Yeah, on August 21st, 2020, he was sentenced to life. And they allowed survivors to come and talk to him. And at the very end, he was sitting in a wheelchair, and he stood up and he said, I've listened to all your statements, each one of them, and I'm truly sorry to everyone I have hurt. Thank you.
There's no way. He doesn't give a shit.
No.
And he's like someone's grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
It's so gross.
Yeah, he was married. Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Yes, he had a spouse, Marie Huddle, from 1973 to 2019.
So he was married during...
Yes.
That's a while.
And she died.
Before it
during
came
the...
out.
Well, he was arrested. He was arrested in 2018, so she died,
before final sentencing, though. Yeah, this... God, and so, like, they can trace back to, like, where he was previously living. Mm-hmm. So they can see, okay, he was in Sacramento during all this time. He was in San Francisco at this time, and he was in Los Angeles. And there's some similar details listed by the victims who can describe him.
Yeah, so there's only one thing that I tabbed in this entire book, and that was the description of him. And the description of him was, he was white, in his late teens or 20s, about 5'9", with a medium athletic build, always in some sort of mask, forced angry whisper, clenched jaw. When he got upset, his voice rose to a higher pitch. Small penis.
Small penis.
Small penis.
Small penis.
Yeah.
That's a fact everyone now knows about him.
I was laughing so hard, I literally had to tab the page.
I mean, it's
the funniest thing.
I mean, it is a description, but, I mean, what do you do? If that's, like, one of the few descriptions you have of a suspect as an officer,
like, what are you
is that something you have to check?
What are you going to do with that?
And then, like, I guess that's, like, it's subjective.
Yeah, so before he started killing, he committed 50 sexual assaults in Northern California. Before then moving south.
Yeah. Where
he killed 10 people.
Yeah, I have actually, I don't know if these are the exact numbers, but the numbers I saw were, there were 750 women who were sexually assaulted by him and 12 murders.
Wow.
It must have...
I'm sure there's more, like, now that DNA
Plus, since he was a cop, I'm sure girls who were, like, tell the police I got sexually assaulted by a police officer, like, no, they're not going to believe me. And so if that came out...
Could he get rid of evidence? If they went in...
No. I would think it had to be under his jurisdiction, but I'm sure... I mean, he knows how it works. He knows what they're looking for, and so he knows how to hide better. And he did for
a really long time. Yeah, he'd always get close to being captured. Like, at one point, there was a police officer that
he chased him down, right?
He chased him down, and then he shot at the police officer, and luckily shot, like, right at his flashlight. But he never got caught, and he never also said why he stopped. Like,
no,
he went from 86, I think it was 86.
Yeah.
And then nothing.
Stopped.
There was
completely.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's, like, when he had kids.
It's possible.
Or
I mean,
just,
like, I think that's what happened with was it the BTK killer?
I believe so. Once he had a family.
Yeah, he had a family. He stopped. Yeah.
Because I guess he clearly didn't care if he was married or not.
No.
But he would choose neighborhoods that he could easily run through. He knew the back paths. He knew whose fence to jump over, to cut through. And so he was always able to outrun
And he
the police.
also did, like, extremely well job of figuring out the layout of the houses. So
he scoped them out.
Yeah, so he would know, like, which bedroom to go to,
Mm-hmm.
which one had the kids, and, like, all this stuff.
He would leave things behind. He'd hide his own weapons in their house.
Would target houses that were for sale, or when he knew someone was there.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times the realtors would say, like, I think maybe he
went through.
Took a tour, when they had an open house.
Mm-hmm. I think there was also, I don't know if he was, like, a public figure or not, but I know there was a guy who went on TV and was like, I don't know how all those other guys can protect their wife. I would never, like, let him attack me, or blah, blah, blah. And, of course, that is the exact next victim he chose.
Yeah.
So, he was watching the news, watching what they were saying about him, and if they were getting kind of on his tail, he knew to do something slightly random.
It's crazy that he got away
for so long.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he couldn't, well, I guess back then, DNA wasn't a thing, so he didn't have to worry about that, per se.
No, and I feel like I read somewhere that because of him, there's certain DNA laws now.
Yeah. I think when you do genealogy stuff and, like, send in your DNA, it's, like, in the contract or something that, like, police can look through this and have this information if they find they need it, and blah, blah, blah. So... I mean,
it's a national database.
Yeah, and anyone can look at it, and anyone can submit it. Yeah. So, it's fair game.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially, like, technology these days, It
is very wild. So, that's I'll Be Gone in the Dark. I highly recommend the docuseries if you can pull it up on your Hulu through HBO Max.
They do have it on Hulu Live as well. I saw that there was
I think... If you have Hulu Live, you have access to HBO Max.
Oh,
I think that's a pairing. I don't remember. But anyway, this is a dense book. And it's broken up
like how
by...
how it was written. I'm sorry. Yeah. I didn't. I love true crime. And
I mean, at the beginning, it has all the cast members.
Well...
Yeah. It's a bunch of names and the investigators. And It's a lot.
It was too dry. I mean, I liked Anne Rule the way she writes because it's like
It's like she's telling a story while still making it real. Like, you don't forget that there was just a lot of
information in this book that I just didn't think needed to be there. Yeah. And I was really
It was a lot.
Yeah, it took me way too long to finish this book. It was going to be a hard pass.
That's the one thing about nonfiction. It really relies heavily on the writer more so than a fiction book for me.
And I almost think that maybe it would have been better if she had been able to finish the book so they weren't trying to piece it together or something.
And even her final drafts might not have ended up actually being her final drafts.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know if she would have done last minute edits or what she would have done.
I mean, kudos to her for putting in this much, like, effort.
She got so dedicated to this case that she forgot anniversaries, she forgot getting gifts, and it consumed her. She could barely sleep. She had nightmares.
Which, I mean, honestly, maybe because she was so determined, maybe that pushed people to continue to look for him. Yeah. I mean, like I said, kudos to her. I just didn't like how it was written because it was from, like, how she came to researching. Yeah. I just didn't really like how it was written, but...
Yeah, not for everyone. It was very dense. Looking at it, I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if I didn't listen to it as well. Which is why I listened to it.
That makes more sense. Yeah, I'll probably have to do that. Then maybe I can come back and say, you know what, actually it's not that bad. Well, next week, we are...
Oh, that just sounds like you're cold.
Yeah. I mean, when am I not cold, honestly? The love... That's not the love.
That's not a love.
That's not it. I had been looking at your love hypothesis before
I have now bought 3 different love hypotheses.
That's what was on my brain.
The Lost Apothecary. Sarah Penner?
Oh, couldn't tell you the author right now.
I don't recall. But I'm very excited. Historical fiction. Love it. I really liked it.
Yeah. I'm I just am about to start chapter 3. Like, I just finished chapter 2, so we'll see. But I'm excited about it. Yeah.
We probably will post some bonus episodes here and there, sprinkle them in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got some content.
We got some stuff.
I think maybe we could also talk about maybe some more books that we're excited that are coming out. Mm-hmm. We actually just bought...
Oh, we had another book day.
Yeah, we did have another book day today. Yeah, we drove down to Eugene, and
had a good time.
Smith Family Book is
Smith Family Book.
A great one.
So good.
We always go to Barnes & Noble because that's the closest one. And, of course, we had to stop at our favorite, Browser's Bookstore.
Yeah, we
had to say hi to Abe.
Stop.
Yes. And, we just bought the 3rd book to the Love Hypothesis. I don't know if I'd call it a series, but it's
not the 3rd book. It's
not a
novellas.
Oh, okay.
Those are the novellas. I forget when the 3rd one's actually coming out.
But the, I think it's, I don't remember what it was called.
Loathe to Love? Something like that. I think it's 3 novellas.
Yeah, it just came out like 4 days ago. So we got that one.
Fresh
off the press. Yeah.
So follow us on Instagram. We do have a TikTok. There's nothing on it right now, but you can follow us on TikTok.
You know, someday we're going to end that
I meant to do it today while we were shopping. I completely blanked out on that.
I think one of our TikToks should be like the books that are coming this month.
The month, yeah. It would make sense.
I think we should start with that. Sense. Yeah. We'll get there eventually. Like I said, someday we're going to say, you know what? Go check out our first TikTok. It's bound to happen.
It's going to happen.
Maybe that will be our 2023 goal, is to make a TikTok.
December 27th.
Yeah.
2023. Just our first TikTok.
Just one. We'll get there eventually.
Well, yeah, go check us out. Baby Got Stacks on whatever platform you're searching on. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.